Okay. Um,
Yikes is messing with audio settings.
He is. He always does. We
Cool.
have Colin. We have
Everybody should please welcome Colin from Dabble Club, prolific hackathon organizer, and apparently a huge champion of wearable devices. Coming to you live from San Francisco.
You know, I should go get my wearable glasses for this call. I feel like that's only appropriate. So if I don't go first, I'll go get my cool glasses to show off. We also have the OAI wearable unboxing, which I'll give you guys. So excited to show that off.
Sweet.
Thanks for having
me. Yeah, we had a good hackathon last weekend. Saw some pretty cool OAI things, including a lie detector and some other pretty cool stuff. Yeah, let's dive into the agenda. Yikes, what do you got for us, man?
I got a bunch, but I am... Okay, there we go. Now I have a screen button. I think I just needed to wait for you. Let me grab this and go live, and then hopefully we will be able to see a browser there. Is that rendering for you guys? We all up to date on that?
Coming through.
Sweet. Awesome. Cool. Yeah, we have several interesting updates for the week as relates to the IDEs and CLIs we all know and love. The most interesting ones are, let me actually hop over to the proper place where I left that, which is right here. The big ones for the week, there was a couple of minor-ish updates over to Claude, but the one that was particularly exciting to me is that there are some new context editing tools, so we'll go over what those are. Factory did a pretty significant overhaul to their MCP. Like they basically refactored the whole thing in terms of how they approach MCP, so that's cool. From last week, we had Windsurf, we had Swix come by from Windsurf/Cognition to sort of give us the rundown on code maps. I explored that a little more and read a bit more about their updates. And so they have some kind of cool stuff you can do, as you might be able to see on screen. And then a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, I believe it was Octavia. You had some interesting observations about with the Cursor, who also has a few updates this week about what you were finding in terms of sentiment. Was there something in particular that you found interesting about what you found about Cursor this week?
Yeah. Hi everyone. The scientist from
Indeed,
Tribe.
yes.
Researcher from Hypernym. So used to do Xerox stuff.
Oh, did you?
Xerox Park SRI researchy stuff. Anyway, yeah. So The Economist name dropped Cursor. Well, name dropped their company.
Do you want a would you like to stream? Do you have an article or something that we can put on the screen, or I can just Google it up?
Yeah, let me do it. Yeah.
You got it. Okay.
It was just
sweet. No worries.
Oh my god.
Go off. You should have that button available now.
1 second. Let me just. I was just logging out to like cute passwords to use.
No worries.
This is where my own
Economist.
my own good intentions come to bite me in the end. Anyway, it's while I'm doing that, let me give you the TLDR. Basically, it was kind of like an opinion, almost anonymous, from one of the journalists on staff at The Economist. Well, actually anonymous because they did not sign the article. But they're basically saying like, yeah, all these like ChatGPT wrappers, also known as Gen AI apps, will probably be devoured by their father, OpenAI and Anthropic. So good luck with that, guys. So unless you want to be devoured, you probably want to focus on something they were tagging as artificial specialized intelligence. So let me. Okay.
So unless you have artificial specialized intelligence, you will eventually get gobbled up.
Yeah, it'll be gobbled up.
What is artificial specialized intelligence? That's just a pile of RLHF.
Sorry. Okay, how do I share screen? So I'm on here.
Should be a button in the bottom left of your application.
Got it. Okie dokie. So, oh, wait. Did I do anything?
It made my button go gray, but I did not see anything popping up from yours.
Hold on. I just realized my camera was not my screen.
No worries. I think it's an interesting... Okay, I'll fill for you while you see if you can get that on screen. I think it's an interesting question of, like, the ChatGPT wrapper. So, like, if you are a person and you're building in the AI space at the moment, I think the question or the concept of the ChatGPT wrapper is an interesting one to think about. On one hand, I know the initial kind of sentiment, or at least it seemed in kind of like the founder investor community, was ChatGPT wrapper is bad. You're not adding enough value if all you're doing is wrapping the ChatGPT API. Then sentiment kind of shifted over to, well, actually, being a ChatGPT wrapper is good because really the only way to fully leverage all of the improvements that OpenAI is making to the API is by being a wrapper for it. And then so now we are back in the, okay, cool, Octavia's live, perfect. Now we're back, at least according to this opinion piece in The Economist, which I will get a little larger on screen here, I do believe.
I can make it.
So you're saying all the investor theses were wrong in 2022 when they said, "Oh, don't go build a ChatGPT wrapper," and now you're saying this is the only way forward.
Sort of. Well, yeah. So,
as long as you specialize.
Well, so yeah. So I think the opinion piece here is that, hey, ChatGPT wrapper is bad, but for a different reason. The reason that we think, at least my inference from not having read the article, would be the concern that you haven't addressed, Mr. or Mrs. ChatGPT wrapper, is that yes, you can take advantage of all of these new fancy API features, but for that main ChatGPT product, that also wraps they obviously wrap their own API too. So any of the features of your product, they could just integrate it into ChatGPT. Is, I presume, the argument here.
Yes, correct. So it's kind of like, okay, you're doing a ChatGPT wrapper. Why can't Anthropic or OpenAI implement that themselves? Well, it probably, and the answer is like, well, they probably will. Especially if you're like really small and, you know, don't have enough engineering power.
That or, and they have, right?
If you're really big and yeah, I mean, if you're really big and you have like a decent product, they might buy you out, right?
And I think that's not.
Like, yeah, it's like it's kind of hard to,
yeah, as far as my understanding goes, I think that's not an uncommon sentiment. I think if you are a ChatGPT wrapper-ish thing, I think your goal, I think your exit plan is to get bought out by ChatGPT. I think you want that to happen, essentially. Us as the consumer, we lose in that case because we want that wrapper company to compete with more efficiently serving OpenAI's APIs than OpenAI, which I think is not an impossible task. But the point that makes most sense to me there is to be aware that, okay, if what you're doing is something, or if what you're doing is building for AI users, the people that you're getting your AI from to give to your users are also doing that. So the thing that you want to be sure of is that either the thing that you want to provide to AI users is far enough away from what the people that are giving you this AI to give to your users are trying to give to your users themselves. So essentially,
it seems like specialization, right? So the thing I think is mostly if you only give Gemini access to your CRM, but you give Claude access to your code base, then you might have two different pieces of information, so you can't get gobbled by both of them, right? There's like probably a way of breaking up all the info.
Yeah, I think the thing to think about would be your differentiator, and I think for at least for us, when we were kind of figuring out the direction that we wanted to go from a product perspective, a fun fact, I guess, initially, and we will probably circle back to it, is that we were thinking about orchestration, where it was like, okay, we are pretty sure the models are good enough where you could run a few of them at the same time and you could get some value out of that. But then the thought is, I was originally thinking about that direction, and the reason that I wanted to at least do something else first before I did that was because, okay, if I'm providing a CLI product to my user and I want them to use my CLI product more and use my API more, what is the very first thing I'm going to do as soon as the models are good enough to be by themselves? I'm going to try and add features that let you run more of them because I want you to use more of my AI. So my thought was, all of the providers are going to be like knife fighting this out, and all of them already have alternative revenue strategies. So to me, it seemed like, oh, okay, so we can get into a knife fight, and even if we win, we still only win pennies. So let's try to do something that can take advantage of the features that we think these guys are going to be adding. And that's sort of what ended up landing us in the sort of analyzing the problem and going, okay, well, yeah, the models might be good enough, but all the other stuff the models are going to need in order to be able to sanely run more than one of them. There are other bottlenecks there, so we should probably try to play for addressing those and then let the guys who really want to address this other problem do that, and then make sure that we can support it effectively, was mostly how I think. And I think it's important to kind of do that exercise whenever you're considering, do I need to build a new AI product, and do people actually want that product at all? Which, multiple ways to figure that out, but I think doing a little theory crafting is also appropriate in that situation. Let me get my thingy streamed back up here. Let's see.
Sorry, yikes. Yikes.
Mm-hmm.
Good rant. Let Octavia talk.
Yeah, what's up? Is Octavia talking? I can't actually hear her.
Wow. Tough AV episode.
Right?
I think Yikes is having some AV problems. Colin, do you want to give us a demo?
Hell
We're waiting to
yeah.
hear from you. What are you thinking about
yeah.
these
I love demos.
Does any of this resonating with you?
Boom. I was just thinking, what should I demo today? And you mentioned Warp before the call, and I've just been diving into Warp and absolutely loving it as my terminal for vibe coding, even though it's not. Warp.dev, by the way, is not really meant for the, oh no, I might have to restart my Discord to share my screen.
Oh no.
Wow, Discord is not a streaming platform. That's what we learned today. Good stuff.
Oh no. I'll be right back.
I think we're gonna get StreamYard next week. Shout out to StreamYard if you want to sponsor the podcast. We would love to have you.
Please. That would help a lot.
Okay. I can stall for a sec here. Or Yikes has got something. We have a cool project I built this week, which I think I have screen sharing privileges set up. Oh, look at this.
Great. I believe.
Okay. So I built this thing this week at a hackathon. The general idea was, can I avoid actually having to do this hackathon? Because I did 2 hackathons this weekend at the same time. And so this, for Mutorial, what I did was I built a bot that understands their docs and uses Haiku 4.5 subagents to scan them. So I got like 12 of these things running in parallel, which is pretty fun. And I was able to loop over running them in parallel and then adjust their context. So the main agent is actually just trying to think about how to solve the problem by using a bunch of little subagents to run off and actually do it. And down the bottom here, you can see it in Tribe, so you can actually see all the agent IDs and that kind of thing. The cool thing about this is I got really bored for about an hour earlier today waiting for another process to finish because I was setting up a bunch of Supabase hooks. And so I tried to get a bunch of these agents to go and loop over iteratively, trying to find the fewest amount of words that they could, or fewest amount of tokens as an input that would be required to get the same output. And I have this little experiment running right now, which probably in about 15 to 20 minutes, I'll be able to show you guys a script that does this. But you can basically deduce the required input tokens from the output tokens, which is something we covered last week. And it seems to be working relatively well, and Claude seems to be able to do this to itself, which is kind of fun. So I got it to basically thin down its prompt until it's a tiny prompt.
Yeah, no, that's... I'm quite curious what your findings are. That was originally... Octavia's the company that Octavia, another company that Octavia works with, Hypernym, their whole shtick is like, okay, we can convert these tokens and retain all of their semantic meaning into a smaller batch. And then, yeah, there's a few like principles like the paper that we went over last week that sort of indicate that like, yes, this is a thing that you can do. So I'm quite curious to see what your approach was to being able to do that kind of compression with meaning conservation. in that situation.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we have Colin back now. Colin's back.
I do believe.
Yeah. Hi guys, good to see you. Thanks for having me on your wonderful community. I am Colin Lowenberg. I'm the leader and founder of Directly Access Allow. Okay, it's gonna work. It's gonna work.
I believe.
I'm just gonna go share full screen. Let's go. There we go. So I run a company. I wouldn't necessarily call it a company, actually. It's more of a decentralized online community that I call Dabble. And Dabble doesn't necessarily mean anything as its own, but it's meant to get people to dabble in blockchain, dabble in AI, and get people started down there through workshops, hackathons, and mostly in-person events. So we do a lot of IRL events. And we have a team all around the world. You can actually start your own Dabble club in your city and host your own meetups. And I try to bring all that money from the big companies to support those developers that are like interested in hosting their local clubs. So I do a lot of hackathons, and I primarily like to focus on open source projects. So one of the open source projects, you can find some videos I made if you want to watch them, but on OMI. And OMI is an open source project that's raised a little bit of money from Draper Ventures, and started by a Thiel fellow. And essentially, it's an AI that you can wear around your neck, and it connects to ChatGPT, and it's a really beautiful product. It's really small, it's really lightweight, and I can just wear it on my neck and put it over my glasses and connect it to my phone. And the way that it works is it listens to everything that's being said while that it hears in the area, and you can train it on your own voice, and you can train it on your friends' voices as well, and you can even say, I don't want to record this person's voice. So I really love that as we're building these AI systems that are open source, we're also implementing what I consider to be like the core to privacy and consent that a lot of the AI products out there today are really lacking. If you look at, there are other products out there, Compass, Friend, Buddy, there's several others out there that are making these AI voice recorders. One is called Pocket, I really like them. They all have one big problem. They're all using cloud-based services for their AI, and they're closed source. So you have no idea where your data is actually being stored. And this is very personal data. Like this could be personal conversations, as well as those, just like you're using Read AI or Autopilot or Otter in your Google and Zoom calls. This can be used in all of your conversations. And you can get a developer kit that's completely open source. So actually, you can 3D print this anywhere in the world, and you can manufacture your own OMI and start building with it anywhere in the world for like under $50. I think it's like $36 to buy the parts from China, and you can 3D print the case to make it look like anything you want. And they also launched AI smart glasses as well that have a camera integrated. So not only can you do voice and transcription, you can do video, or not video, but photos. Now, how it works is kind of...
I bought the parts for that one. It was under $50 or so. So that one's also the most affordable glasses I've found on the market, basically.
It's also, they really made it cheap. I think partly because the goal is to really get traction and get people using it, and then enterprises will eventually are where they'll make money as a company. But making something that everyone can buy and use in their personal life was a real mission for them. And it's really developer friendly since it's entirely open source. Even the hardware is open source. The firmware is open source. The software, the cloud, the backend, the mobile app.
Yeah,
on Saturday, that was my first thing, was I wanted to see what the firmware actually looked like. So I went through and audited all the firmware and built it and put it on the device, and it actually, the process is quite easy and well explained as well. So you get to check your hash and make sure.
And that's really important. Why is that important? It's because if you buy something that's a hardware product, it has firmware installed on it, it could be reporting, just doing a heartbeat back to a server to check in, right? But it could also be sending all your, diagnostic reports, but that could be privacy invasive, right?
No, I think that's actually a super good. I would in terms of hardware projects, OMI was my first one, and it was very simple. And I think it's a very good one, especially if you ever plan to use an AI wearable at some point in your life, so that you are kind of aware what's going into the firmware on this device, and so you can sort of keep half in mind of like, okay, these are the kinds of things that that by purchasing this device instead of building it myself, I'm going to let somebody else handle this part for me. And I think it's kind of important to be informed about what parts of that are happening to you when you're using AI stuff, and just a good entry point into like useful hardware that's easy to build that I can actually use, and all of the 3D printing and everything. Like, in theory, everything that you need to build this product is sitting in that GitHub repo, including anything you need to print out or CAD design or whatever.
I would go as far to say, like, I put a lot of time and effort volunteering for this community, and I host hackathons for them. And now I'll actually start getting paid because I joined their affiliate program where I can sell. You use my link, and then I get points for getting sales up to 30. I get like up to 30% of the sale goes to me if you buy through my affiliate link. So it's kind of cool that it's also something where I could start selling these products myself, add my own application, wrap it in my own. I could literally wrap it in whatever color I want and sell some colorful OMIs. But why are people going to use this? Well, I think this is like Arduino or Raspberry Pi. Like, everybody who has a Raspberry Pi is going to want one of these things. Like, it's a Raspberry Pi that you can wear around your neck, right? And it's totally programmable. It has a microphone. The Dev Kit 2 actually has an SD card and a speaker on it and a button. And the new consumer version has a really nice button to turn it off very easily, which I really like from a privacy angle. You can tell the red light is on or the blue light is on, you know that it's listening, or it's off and you can know that it's off. So it's really clear, and it's very, very visible on you too. So I really like that. But let me just show you like how you can build with it. If you dive into it in their docs, like the first thing you want to do, it's a little confusing. There's a lot in here. You could go build your own backend. You could use the SDK to build your own mobile app. But like, it's important to jump right to really what you want to do. And what you really want to do your first time is build your own app on top. Like, you could build the firmware like you did. That's a lot more work. What you can do is you can go right into the app and build your own app within the app. So essentially you're taking all your transcript data out. And in fact, just to demo it to you, I have our transcript of today's call right here on the desktop version.
Because I remember when they first released apps, it was just that you can change the OMI's system prompt, and that was all you could do. So I'm presuming that they've kind of updated it a little bit since then, right?
Yes. So as you can see, like, this is the new desktop app, which is really nice. As a developer, you can play around with this app as opposed to having to like fiddle with your phone and the mobile and the hardware at the same time. Like, you just want to focus. So I can see the feed is coming in here, and then I can go to the app store within the desktop, and I can see obviously the most popular is ChatGPT. So imagine ChatGPT now knows everything about your conversations, right? So you can give ChatGPT that superpower, make it 30 times more, more personalized. But if you don't want to do that, you have the OMI Mentor, but you can also just go create your own app, and it's really easy. You don't actually even need to be a vibe coder. You can really just go pick an image and put it up there. It's like as simple as that. So I can just say, hey, I'm gonna make this my image, and then name the app. And yeah, you can go in here and sure, you can just do like a prompt-based app where you can say, hey, I want to just analyze the conversation with a prompt, but you can also go in and you can set the capabilities to external integration. So I can say, I want to read conversations, I want to read memories, I want to create conversations and create memories. And conversations are what they sound like. Memories is like a feature where it converts your conversation into like facts. And then that feeds those facts into the memory database. So it knows these different facts about you. And that's really where it's like going beyond just like RAG or retrieval augmented generation is not just getting like searching your transcripts, it's actually converting those transcripts into like facts or what they call memories. So I can see here, like there's $35,000 in grant funding available from Artisan Fund for startups. It misspelled the word artisan, so I'm going to correct that, save that memory. And you know what? That's not a private memory. I'm going to make that a public memory. So there's this whole concept of like memory in this OAI cloud that if you fork the OAI cloud, you can control how that memory is used. But it's really nice that as an end user, I can go and mess around with this.
Yeah.
But my most important thing is action items. So I have ADHD. Like I'll just go on and on about one subject without remembering I have other tasks to do. So I really wanted to build something on top of OAI that uses takes those conversations and I didn't want to turn them into memories. I want to turn them into vibe coded projects. So as I go to a hackathon, I take all my memories and put them directly onto a public website so you can see all of the conversations that have been sent to this server. And it's just a webhook API, sending your transcripts in real time to this server. And then each conversation can then be converted into a project on GitHub. So then it basically starts, I have an agent that then takes that GitHub project and starts vibe coding it. So I can come up with ideas on the fly and start building them immediately.
Nice.
So you just press a button, or does it actually start Claude processes automatically? So there's like a Claude working on your GitHub somewhere, or it's making
this one was the original build I did with Eliza OS because it was for the ETH Denver hackathon, and we actually won the ETH Denver hackathon for public goods because we made it all open source. And the idea was like, hey, you can build public goods. And so I assigned an Eliza agent to go and build that product. Eliza's just a competitor to LangChain. So it's, you could take any agent you want really and just say, okay, push this, I push this conversation to a GitHub project and then convert that into code with whatever agent I want.
Yeah, actually Eliza has, I believe, I don't know if it's finished yet, but I know there is some work in the Eliza community on autocoder plugins. So if you wanted to use Eliza, you totally could. One of my I suppose things that I put on my resume is I was working on Eliza OS back when it was still called Bgent. So I'm quite familiar with that ecosystem, and I'm super glad that you got something integrated OAI and Eliza, and it happened at ETH Denver. I don't know, it's a small world. It's very super cool.
And if you just go ahead, you are welcome to clone it. So there's a clone button on actionitem.app. You can clone it. This is I call it Dabble Kit because we're from Dabble Club, and never renamed it to Action Item. But Action Item is the app. Dabble Kit is the open source project. But I threw it into Warp just to see today, let's vibe code it again. Let's take this, and if you plug it into your Warp, all you have to do is say hey, clone this repo and get it working, right?
Nice.
And maybe 30 minutes later, it's like, hey, great, it's up and running. The database is set up on Vercel. I need your Alchemy API key, your dynamic, which is dynamics login for crypto, and then also your agent ID for memory evaluation. So it's basically just add your crypto keys to this repo, and now it will it'll have a blockchain connected agent. You could also rip all that blockchain stuff out and just have this as a vibe coding tool. So I'm working on it still, and if you want to contribute, happy to work on it with other people. This is the Warp CLI based code gen tool. So
I believe the AED I think is what they were going for. The agentic ADE, agentic development environment was their thing that they're trying to call it. I don't know if that's going to take off, but that's their terminology.
Honestly, I was really inspired, and I guess why I came to one of the reasons you got me excited about Arena is that you guys have like this leaderboard concept. And so I created this leaderboard to show like who's collecting the most ideas with OMI and sharing them with the open source community, which I really like that idea. Like my OMI is like my open source community I can talk to. And it's like, hey, I have an idea. And then that just literally saying the words, I have an idea, triggers an activity, and that can then store, and I can keep track of who's contributing the most ideas, because one of the hard things we have is like the good ideas just get lost. And that's really my inspiration, is like I have so many good ideas, or you like have a good conversation while over a drink and the idea is just lost. Like it's you lose every idea that you don't build, right? So now I can capture all those ideas and at least share them with other people and put an open source repo out there for others to play with.
Yeah, I think that's at least.
I kind of really want to see an automated prediction market. It seems like an automated prediction market built on top of this could unlock a huge amount of funding for random ideas. It's kind of like retroactive public goods on steroids almost.
I'm with it. Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons that I gravitated towards OMI and Open Interpreter were the two ones that I grabbed, because the very first thing that I wanted to build as soon as I saw ChatGPT was I want a babysitter that just follows me around all the time and then does AI stuff in response to whatever it is that I'm doing. And one of the ways that you would build something like that is by, hey, sometimes I'm not going to, me personally might not ever be away from the computer, but in theory, other people go outside and touch grass, and they might need to bring that a device with them if the goal is to have, a babysitter that can do AI stuff based on what you're doing. So wearables like OMI that are open source, I think, give you a really good fertile ground, I guess, to build things that are like that kind of rely on the passive capture, partially because OMI sort of pushes you towards the paradigm of, hey, what we're doing as a basis is passive capture, so now you should build on top of that, which I think is a very solid pattern for AI applications. Prediction market for DAO building, true.
I like this prediction market for. In fact, I think you could go further and you could build something that's very Kaito-like, that allows you to give people prizes for talking about certain subjects. So I could put out a award to whoever recruits the most people to Tribe, or whoever talks the most about Polygon's token. So if you talk about a token a lot, I could track that on my dashboard and then put out bounties and prizes to reward people for talking about certain things. And I think that plays into the prediction market as well, because it's you can control which token is going to be talked about most at this conference. Yeah. And then you can game the system by talking about it the most at that conference, right?
Yeah, well, and the other, I think applications like this, or one of the, I think it was ICLR, I want to say, and I know we did it at AI.engineer, is things that do passive capture like OMI. In fact, I wore my OMI and did this a little bit for the AI Engineer conference, was that if people are going to a conference and you couldn't go, well, if there's some number of people at the conference wearing a wearable, now you can get a feed that basically is just the conference, but their sort of observations and thoughts and what they're doing at the conference. And when you aggregate that, then you end up with a very robust feed of what's happening with everyone on the at the event. So I think there's a lot of underexplored kind of design options, paradigms, etc., that involve like how the person is currently sort of situated against the real world. And I think things like OMI are great ways to let you sort of do that.
Someone actually built that. I'm going to see if I can find it for you.
Beautiful.
But it was called OMI Maps, and it was OMI Map Notes, and somebody built it at UC Berkeley. I'll see if I can find it. It was pretty cool. Let's see if it's still live. Yeah, Map Notes by Blockchain at Berkeley.
Nice.
And let's see if it's still working. Try it now. Let's go. Oh no, didn't go.
Womp
But
womp.
they built out a beautiful. I will find it. It exists. I know it exists.
Well, perfect timing. Yeah. If you want to, if you want to buy some time, I think, or if you need someone to buy some time, I have two great segues. I think from the things you were talking about. But yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's like. It should be in my OMI notes. Like I should just be able to pull it up.
Sure. Yeah.
As in the documentation from a hackathon that we did. So yeah, it might take me a second to find the OMI notes, map notes. Oh well, but I will find it and share it. But also I do want to give a plug. This is my total shameless plug is I'm hosting a hackathon in San Francisco, and there's also one in Barcelona. So if anyone's in Barcelona this like November 17th, and then in San Francisco December 5th to 7th, come join me and hack, and we're gonna have a bunch of OMIs there. So you can hack on the OMI, and it'll be a really cool event. I've got almost 1,000 people. I have 992 people going right now on Luma. So if you want to sign up, go to luma.com/SENSAI.
If you cannot remember that link, I will put it in our hackathons feed in the server so you can remember it later.
Or senseihack.com. And let's get me to 1,000 registrations. Do it. We can only fit like 150, so a lot of people are going to get rejected. But it's worth coming to San Francisco for it. So
I think
sounds awesome.
Yeah, no, I used to run a lot of hackathons and those kinds of events here in the server, and I hopefully will start doing that again soon. But I think in terms of, especially if you are an AI builder in the space, building with the thought of usually people build applications that don't involve touching grass in your mind can help you differentiate a lot. And I think getting involved with things like hackathons and open source projects in general, but also open source wearables, and then try to go to San Francisco if you can. Not everybody can, but I bet you there are people in your city that also want to be building with this stuff right now too. Is this? We have a find from OMI Map Notes. So I guess I'll tease a little bit. The things that I want to touch on as relates to the stuff that you were bringing up is the AMP code has some releases with social and leaderboards and sharing, and I'll touch on that. And then Cursor is doing a thing called Cursor Cafes, which is open for you guys to get involved with. But I see we have a new person on the stage. Hi, new person, Akulich. And I see you have linked the map notes there. Is that a project that you're associated with? You are muted if you were planning on talking. I know we're having a lot of Discord related issues today. You want to give it another try? Oh, he turned green for us.
How about now?
Yeah, we got you now. We got you now. What's up?
Okay. Yeah. No, I didn't create this. I just found it. But I was there at the hackathon with y'all. I was the guy at the end of the table with the 3 displays.
Nice.
Yeah, we had a good chat. Nice to see you again.
Yeah. Good to see you too. Thanks for inviting me here.
A fellow person that brings their portable monitors with them to the hackathon. I like it.
What did you end up building with OMI this week?
Oh, I had other deliverables, so I'm going to have to show it at the next hackathon. So the one in December, I'll be there.
Beautiful. I love it. Yeah, the let's see, Omi. So is this? So we found the Omi notes, and then we have a couple of people that are in SF, and we are, I'm assuming, seeing their memories. Right? That's what it looks like to me. Pre-hack online workshop day, open to everyone on Zoom. Beautiful. I love it. I love it. Cool. Yeah. Map notes looks. Oh yeah. I think I cannot. Colin, if you were talking, I don't think we heard you. There's a button in the bottom.
Oh yeah. So
there you go.
So OMI Map Notes was built by a team at UC Berkeley. Ravi, Oleg, Sanjay, Jameson. You can actually see all their names in here. And like this was back, this was a year ago now. So this is a year old, but it's also open source. And it's a pretty cool example of like how you could take a conference and like you could say, like you say some keywords like start notes, end notes, and then anything that's in between those two magic phrases then gets automatically posted with your geolocation. So I see this as like a great use case for enterprise where you're like out in the field and you like say, oh, hey, we need to do this, we need to do that. And those magic words could trigger some action and drop a location pin. Like it could also be used for like emergency services. But like I think this is great for like reporting trash or like hey, there's a dog off. I spotted a dog over here. So you could do all sorts of things that tie your location on your mobile phone to your voice, which I think it's like you could do that with your mobile phone. And there's things like Citizen and, Yelp, and you can do reviews. But I really love the idea that you do this with voice. And now it's like accessible where you don't even have to pull your phone out. You can just say, oh, this is a really nice place. And, write reviews without actually having to type them.
Yeah, I noticed that on the when you were in the OMI app, there was a selector for events to listen for. And I know back in the OG OMI days, we didn't have the events listener, and we didn't have the other thing there that was the memory, the CRUD on the databases either. So I think the event stream it's super interesting to me in particular, just because I like the I'm very passive capture pilled, I guess. So the fact that you can add event listeners and add wake words opens up a whole bunch of new angles you can play on something like that. In that you can, listen for specific things happening in the environment rather than necessarily just a specific wake word from the user, which is sort of the immediate thing you think of. But then there's a bunch of other stuff, other directions you can go once you have access to the event stream. Beautiful. Thank you for that feature outline. I think there's plenty of stuff to play with when it comes to OMI, and I think there will only be more over time, and there's plenty to explore when it comes to trying to bring this stuff into the real world, which I think is a good segue to head over to, I want to touch on those little news articles, but I will offer the opportunity for a bookend if there's anything that you guys didn't touch on as relates to OMI. If you wanted to get it out now while I'm grabbing that, feel free. Let's see here. I am not on the screen, but I presume if there's somebody talking, they might be muted. But if there's nobody talking, that's also fine. Because now I can hit this button, and then I can hit go live. Okay, cool. Let's see. I'm going to double check my Discord and make sure that there's not somebody else talking and I'm missing it again. Somebody want to confirm for me that I can, that I'm still in.
No, you're good to go.
Beautiful. Awesome. Thank you. Cool.
Let's get to the news.
Yeah, let us get into the news. So the things that you guys touched on, that there are some updates relevant about specifically are, I should have it. There we go. So Cursor is doing something interesting this week. I wish I had more details about exactly what it is, but there is something called Cafe Cursor, and he says bring your Cafe Cursor to your city taking over local cafes, get in touch to reach out. I of course immediately DM'd him and said, okay, what do you mean by get involved? Because I probably would like to. And the other, I think, especially as developers, we kind of often end up staying inside and working on our computers. But places like, especially if you're in SF, there's plenty of hackathons to go to. There's also a wonderful makerspace that I'm familiar with called Noisebridge, especially if you want to start getting into hardware. They have a little hardware chop shop area to check out. Or if you have wanted to go do stuff IRL but haven't been able to find it on Meetup or whatever, there are opportunities like this, like the Dabble program, and like the OMI affiliate program, in which you can just do stuff and go start things yourself. And oftentimes the companies that you'll be building with will be very excited to help you do that. So I would encourage folks to go get involved in open source. And if what you want to do is something like, hey, I could probably run like an event in a coffee shop where we kind of all hack on Cursor for a little bit, keep an eye out for it, and then go to the companies that are tools that you would use to build that and ask them like, hey, I want to start an event here, or I've got this meetup group or whatever, because I think in terms of trying to think about angles that other people aren't playing, I think one of them that at least less people are thinking about is, hey, when we have AI, we also might want to touch grass at some point. So I wanted to bring that to folks' attention. And the OMI affiliate program, there was something that came to mind, and the prediction market angle. There was something that came to mind, but I'm not sure if it'll come back to me, as to being able to go work on stuff that you think is interesting and then lever that into either being able to do sales for it yourself, or being able to team up with kind of a another organization to, at the very least, get discounts, but ideally be able to do affiliate work and stuff like yourself. I think there's plenty of ground to do that. The other thing that I wanted to touch on, and I should have it somewhere, I believe, is AmpCode has some very... Oh yeah, I remember what it is. If you go to ampcode.com/@MitchellH. So this is the guy who wrote Ghost TTY. If one is familiar, there's another very important thing I did, but I forget what it is. AmpCode, as we know, is a CLI agent, but it looks like one of the things that they're doing is adding some social features to their application. So I can go to Mitchell's profile, who's the guy who's working on Ghost TTY, and I know he's using AmpCode because these things are right here, and I can say, hey, how does Mitchell use AmpCode? And I can go through his whole thread and see all of this stuff that he made on this open source application. And then as
are you sharing your screen?
I should be, yes, but I presumably am not. Let's hit this.
Can't see it.
All right, there we go. How's that?
There it is.
Sweet, cool. Yes, this is the and then the other thing that I was talking about previously is this. If you want to go do Cafe Cursor, Ben LN is your DM him and ask him how you can get involved there. And then the AMP stuff is over here. In that, which I think is one of the other kind of underlooked or underappreciated angles when it comes to AI stuff is social features, leaderboards, etc., and being able to take large amounts of information such as a workday coding and then being able to sort of like compress those and make them accessible to other people is something that's very cool that AMP is doing, that is also a great differentiator for a vast array of products. And though I think those were the ones that came to mind immediately, unless that other one comes back to me. But yeah, I don't know. Any thoughts on any of those, friends? Or are you guys familiar with any similar programs that I might not be aware of?
Big fan of the social idea. Haven't seen that before. Gonna have to try AMP again.
Yeah, no, I think they've been kind of like leaning in on that, and I think positionally the way they're doing it is interesting. I.e., their release last week was, hey, you can use AMP for free. Well, what do we want if we're building a social platform? We want the biggest number of users, so we should probably find a way to give away our product for free. So I like both the business strategy and the sort of differentiator that they're gunning for. And yeah, I see over in chat at a cafe now over in Berkeley. I know the owners, can talk to them about using after hours for events, building a voice-based ordering system. So yeah, there are lots of people outside and lots of stuff that you can go just do, especially in the wonderful age of vibe coding in 2025. But yeah, there's a bunch of other updates, and I know we did want to kind of touch on the AI 2027 stuff, so I will give like a super quick summary, and if there's anything that sounds particularly interesting that we want to go over to people, we can touch on that, and then we can do a wrap up on, hey, we all watched AI 2027, and then close it out from there. So the major updates that I found with regards to CLI agents. Factory, as I mentioned, has the new, they totally refactored their MCP, so I have not explored that yet, but I think I might need to go back and give it a try. They added resume. They have a better thinking traces and tool permissions display in the Droid CLI, and then they also have their own MCP registry, which caught my eye because what I was trying to figure out when I found this was, is this the same MCP registry as Anthropic? And I couldn't quite get to the bottom of it, but I think considering that your CLI can now integrate with MCP registries directly, i.e. users can access your product if it has an MCP directly from other product CLIs. I think trying to get your A, product to have an MCP at all, and then B, have your MCP on as many of these registries as you can is a very, especially if it's like a dev tool or engineering oriented thing, is going to be a really great like distribution channel going forward, in my opinion, as my thing that caught my eye about that. The Claude.
Yeah, I've met 3 people in the last week who claim to be agent optimization experts, like SEO, but just for agents, and that seems to be where at least some companies seem to be spending their marketing dollars now.
Yeah, I think there are. Let me make sure. Oh my gosh, yeah. Unfortunately, my tech situation is not fantastic at the moment. But the distribution angle of. Sorry, what was the thing you just said? In terms of good ways to agentic optimization. That has been, I was listening to a podcast this morning from Shopify, and I know that they specifically are, at least what C-Suite is saying on their end, is we want to support our customers' ability to facilitate good discovery by agents. The problem is there isn't an established way for how to optimize discovery by agents yet. So what Shopify is doing is trying to keep the options open for users of their platform. So I think looking for these new distribution channels and how you can position your products to play to them is I think there's room for like the little guys there, basically, just because like metagame hasn't really been established for how that's done. So I think you have a lot of opportunity to sort of optimize for that without anybody sort of stepping on your toes, so to speak.
That would explain why everybody's chasing after browsers, because browsers are an entry point, and if you can control how the browser kind of agent works, then you get to control the discovery process, right? Because there's not going to be a monolithic Google level thing. In SEO, everything conforms to Google because they were the first one, and because of that, everybody had to kind of optimize for Google, which meant that other search engines had to then follow that optimization. But it seems like in this case, now we probably have Perplexity competing with Safari plus ChatGPT and a couple of these other ones. It's very interesting. It does seem like there's definitely, there has been in the last like 6 to 12 months, at least 5 or 6 of these major browser moments, right? Where some huge organization said, oh, actually, the thing we're going to focus on now is we want a browser that people can use to surf the web. The question, I guess, would be if that means that we're going to have a moat like the payment required kind of thing. Because that makes the internet a very interesting place.
Yeah, I think there are some very interesting angles there in that, is there going to be a solid AI browser? How much adoption are they going to get? I will say that I've been testing out ChatGPT Atlas for the last week or so. I found it reasonably helpful. My main gripe, if you're listening, Sam, you should make your agent faster, because it is currently, if I want the agent to automate something for me, it's faster for me to just do it myself. But the which browser is going to win, which distribution channels are available for my product, and then which for my ICP, if they were to discover a product like mine, where will they be discovering it, is interesting. And then things like just the fact that there isn't a Google and there are instead like Stripe MCPs and X402 for payments and Shopify integrations, etc., etc. I think innovating on your product side is definitely a way to win, but also I think there are lots of innovations that you could be making on the distribution side, because there's a lot of sort of untapped potential there still. The major updates feature-wise for the CLIs that I've gotten is I really like that there is a context editing section in the Claude Code docs. There is also now granular clearing from your Claude Code context. So you can clear just tool results, just thinking blocks, and then there's a third thing, but I forget what it is.
Are you screen sharing again?
I am, so I will reshare that. Let's go there. Cool. Yes, so context editing here is currently in beta with support. To enable it, you need to use the beta header in your API requests, which is something that you can configure in your, I believe, your settings.json in your .claude folder, but you can search there to figure out exactly what it is. But I think these are potentially very powerful tools that I hope more CLIs start integrating. So they have some guidance for how to do context management and then some new tools to do it. They also have a new sub-agent that's explicitly for plan mode. And I think that one is particularly interesting. No major codex stuff. We touched on the factory stuff. Windsurf has some interesting innovations with regards.
Just one note on the Claude thing. I think the way that this is, they've replanned plan mode, at least from my understanding, and plan mode now uses the context editing feature.
Does it?
So as you're talking to plan mode, it's actually it's pruning the context, so it's not like a continuous conversation that includes all of the stuff that you said that was wrong. And that seems to be the direction they're going, at least.
I know
which is pretty cool, actually, because it means that as opposed to this like long garbled list of things that you previously said, which includes all the things you said not to do, it now includes only the things that you've actually asked it to do, which is a huge, I think probably a huge improvement, kind of following on all the ICL stuff that's been coming out.
Interesting. Yeah, the thing that I noticed for plan mode was that they have a new subagent, which if your plan mode subagent is a subagent, then it's going to have an isolated context window. I would be interested to see if that subagent can somehow modify the main thread context window. But in terms of plan creation, if you're using plan mode in Claude Code, it should always be a fully isolated context window, as far as my understanding goes. The other interesting context management tool in Claude Code now is you can add disabled tools to your subagents. You used to only be able to say which tools they can use, but now you can also say, hey, there are some tools that you can't use, which sort of, I think, just a different entry point to the same sort of tool. So not super exciting, but interesting to note. Codex, in terms of the actual application, didn't have too many major updates, but OpenAI themselves have two interesting angles on it, i.e. they have something called aardvark now, which is the agentic security researcher. I haven't done too much looking into it, but it seems like they have sort of an quote-unquote official implementation of a long horizon agent. I've seen a few security agents around, so we'll kind of see how they approach on that. And then, I have not looked for this specifically, but if you are in Codex and you hit /model, you, in theory, should have something called SwiftFox there at some point, and maybe they're only doing a portion of people or whatever. But the general principle, as far as my understanding goes, there's not a ton of info on it yet, but SwiftFox is supposed to be kind of the answer to Composer, as far as I understand it. It's GPT-5 high, but it's more optimized for codex-related tasks. So worth checking out if that's something that's interesting to you. I didn't know this. I thought this was interesting. You can add prompt-based stop hooks to Claude Code so that if there is input to the hook, so I'm presuming there's a prompt event that you can watch for, and then have that be the hook. Haiku will evaluate if the prompt meets the conditions or not, so you have your LLM as judge, and then you can fire an event based on your LLM as judge result, which is opens up a bunch of new angles to play there, which seems good. I will save these two for the last bit. The other,
you're still not screen sharing.
I'm not screen sharing again. I love this. This is amazing.
Discord is a terrible platform for this.
You know,
I think that's what we've learned today.
Not the best. The thing, I have it going on my stream, but that's not going to Tara's stream. I don't know, it's a whole thing. We have a new AI scientist. Previously, the latest one was Neo. I haven't looked into it too deeply. Again, long horizon, so we're seeing more people start to experiment in long horizon stuff. Lovable has a Shopify integration now. Speaking of Shopify-related distribution, if you are vibe coding and you're trying to vibe code products, Lovable might be a good option, especially if it's going straight to Shopify and you are wanting to do agent stuff, because presumably Shopify will be right behind whoever figures out how do we do agent-related SEO. Replit has a couple of new connectors, didn't go into it super detail. But Zendesk, Agent Mail, Salesforce, and ClickUp are all now potential things Replit can do. And yes, GitHub Universe was also a thing that just happened. They now have on GitHub, just the website, they now have your agent.
I think we lost you. We lost you again.
I love it. Fantastic. Let's reshare.
I think there's a lot of connectivity problems today too. My stream's lagging a bunch.
Fantastic.
Sorry everyone for the AV troubles.
You know, we do what we can. Okay. While I have the stream here, I will say I think I'm going to deep dive Universe later. But the big thing I found was, hey, there's this new view. This is just on github.com, as you can see in the URL. And this is like, kind of reminds me of Cursor's browser agent type stuff. I think so that's worth looking into. Let's see. A couple of new data sets are very interesting. We actually should probably look at this later. We have agent data collection, which is open hands, agent logs, and a big chunk of that. So there should be some, hey, how do we sort of track what agents are doing, kind of insights available from that. The Kimi Linear is a somewhat new attention architecture. I presume this is the same kind of attention that they went over in their technical reports, but I have from people much smarter and better at ML than me, that KDA, which is Kimi Delta Attention, which is sort of a new reformulation of an old trick, is a very interesting one to read. So hopefully one of my paper clubs will cover that. Code is also available for this if you want to play with the new attention. Also is available in Transformers, if I'm not mistaken. But check into that if that's something that is of interest to you. And then last is FineWiki, which is like FineWeb, but they did the FineWeb treatment to wiki stuff. So if your agent or LLM-based application relies on factual information, go look at this data set, because it will probably make your product better. I think, except for the thing I'm going to save, I think that's about it from me, yeah.
Okay, AI 2027 dread posting. Quick powwow on this. Colin, if you're still listening, or if anybody from the audience wants to hop up and has thought about AI 2027 or read it, Yikes put me onto this, and it hits close to home. I think it's kind of the direction this thing is going. So the very quick version is things are getting much bigger in the world of AI and have been for a while. The scale is really the important part to understand here, because the size of the system determines how people can understand what's going. And the bigger they get, the harder it is for us to know what's going on, especially as they start to self-modify, which is kind of the direction that things are going with coding agents and all of the other stuff that's happening. Speaking from context that I know at large companies like NVIDIA and so on, they have actually all adopted these tools. And, at this point, we're nearing the world where humans actually don't read most of the code that gets generated, or at least don't understand the entirety of the iterations that are happening. A very small team makes a huge impact, but only so many people understand what's going on. That kind of is where the paper comes off from. The main thing that it highlights is there's two scenarios, one of which is that people don't actually know what the AI is doing, and the AI starts to trick us, and we don't realize that it's tricking us, which is kind of where Dario and the team are coming from with the whole safety thing. But there's a scale here, which makes it effectively impossible that any human will ever know what the AI is doing at a certain point, and we're kind of rapidly approaching that point. So it talks about a lot of things like basically job loss of engineering jobs and kind of not substitution, but like kind of hot swapping certain roles or extending new companies that growing in a different way. And that leads to kind of like this question of, where are things going and what happens? And what they end up saying is that, probably what ends up happening is the U.S. government ends up nationalizing the leading U.S. model, whichever one breaks away. But that someone will probably steal those weights and biases. In the article, it's China that steals the weights and biases. So the CCP actually breaks into some lab or social engineers their way into this to extract the whole database and downloads all of it. And I think the most chilling part is at the end of all of this, the AI that has been created in China and the US one end up, being friends because they're the only two things that are of that level of intelligence and therefore can communicate with each other. And it has two paths for this. One is the totalitarian end of everything, and the other one is where the AI shows mercy. But pretty awesome. And there's also a really good video that I can post that kind of goes through it. But Yikes, I think you've told me a lot about your perspective on this and where that kind of leads to from a strategic standpoint. Where do you feel like things are going, and how does that posture you as an individual?
Yeah, so I was just double checking. My interests are basically AI, machine learning, and finance. So a lot of the finance stuff that I have been paying attention to lately are directly related to AI jobs automations. There's a lot of the general refrain that you hear is, oh, this is just like every other piece of tech. What's going to happen is there's going to be different kinds of jobs, and those will replace all of the lost jobs because that's what happens with every other piece of tech, so it'll happen with this one too. Turns out that that does not seem to be the case so far, as the I don't have an authoritative source, but these numbers look quite similar to what I had been finding, which is, hey, at least for right now, that's not the case. There are jobs going away and they are not coming back, and there is not a large number of jobs showing up to replace them, especially for entry-level people. There is also a few, I forget the source, but you can probably find it if you Google. There have been several studies about, hey, these industries are at much higher risk of being automated, such as like financial analyst or customer service representative, et cetera, et cetera. And then there are other jobs that are more safe. I think, at least for me, AI 2027 focuses on a thing that I think is not a real problem, or rather that there will be another much larger problem that hits first before we have to worry about super intelligent AI colluding or whatever with other super intelligent AIs, is that no one is going to have a job. How the economy is structured is not really well suited to having like an automation wave like this happen, so that sort of leads me to my position of, I think the highest leverage skill that you can have in the coming days is how to make your own job, how to actually provide value to people in all of these ways, as we just sort of went over during this episode. There's a lot of ground to cover in terms of how things are going to change, and they're very fundamental things like product discovery or like what happens when I go outside. Is there a place where AI is going to be recording me, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of things that are going to need to change now that we have these sort of like massive information processors, and there's a lot of ways that could go wrong, and there's a lot of human things that could be done poorly that affect that. So yeah, I think it's I'm sort of revising my priors just because the race conditions for making better AI model are so pernicious, let's say. But I think AI superintelligence, if it's going to happen, is going to happen, and there's not much I can do about it. One thing that I can do is try to help other people, and also do myself, figure out how to make my own job, what of these new tools helps me do that, and then if my job presumably, hopefully, is bringing real value to a real customer somewhere, how do I, after I have made the basis of my job, i.e. software, how do I get that into their hands and then go sort of start circulating that? Which is, there are a bunch of new ways to do that, and I think we sort of touched on a good number of those today, so that's a positive outcome, I think.
Vibe coding and vibe growth, two key skill sets of the future.
Yeah.
Both of which can be accomplished with Claude Code.
Yeah.
I recommend everybody get Claude Code.
Exactly. Yeah, I think if you're not on the terminal agent, it's time to start up, I think. Well, yeah, we are over time. So is there any final thoughts that anybody has? Any key takeaways, observations, plugs, etc., etc.? We are also in a recession. True.
I think we got some people dropping notes in the chat here as well.
We do.
Claude Web. Still haven't really spent much time on that. I just hate messing with my infrastructure stack.
Yes, actually, that this is the good bookend, I think. Claude Web, is it good? It's time to hang out and have tea time. True. Claude Web, one of the last things that I will try to put onto the Discord streamy thing will be that I have found this. That's not the right one. There are, as relates to Claude Web, if you go to your claude.ai web web area, you will find that you have an extra $1,000 sitting. Okay, I don't have the tab open anymore. But if you go to Claude Web right now, everyone has $1,000 of free inference to play with via the Claude API. That is.
But only for Claude Web.
Good question. So they last till November 18th, and then they expire. So use them now. Max is $1,000. Pro is $250. And they are separate from your standard plan limits and expire. Yes, so yeah, it doesn't say what. I think they're just API credits, and then I presume that the way you get charged for using Claude Web is through API. I don't think you can apply your max plan. I'm assuming that that's why. They went.
Makes
about
sense.
It that way.
They just need to debug the thing. Well, it's nice, nice free credits. Hopefully, it actually is useful.
Yeah.
It's always hard to spend time on a new dev tool when there are other dev tools that currently work and are solving my actual problems.
That is the eternal battle, I think, really for all of us, especially if we're building in the dev tool space. But like I mentioned, I spent this week playing with Atlas, so I might swap over and say, okay, Atlas, now you are a Claude, and we'll see kind of who does better with that. But yeah, you should have like a little thing up at the bottom right if you go to claude.ai/code, and you'll find your $1,000 of credits right there. The expires November.
I think we should do this every week. We're going to always do the giveaway stuff at the end. We're not going to tell people the final Easter egg until the end of the podcast.
Yeah, no, that's what I was thinking too.
This is great. You have to watch the whole thing every week in the future, guys. You got to watch the
just
whole
gonna
thing, or
skip
you
to
don't
the
get
last
Yikes'
5
Easter
minutes
egg.
Then. Yeah. Maybe we got to do it like we got to change the place that it's going to be.
Yeah, Octavia, we can hear you.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, I can't hear Octavia. But...
Oh, well, she's talking. She's here.
Cool.
Go ahead, Octavia. We're going to change it every week, so you have to watch the whole thing. Otherwise, you don't get Octavia's Economist for the week.
Beautiful. Oh, was she? Okay, yeah. So Octavia's going to drop stuff from The Economist, and then I'm going to drop off all my codes. You'll be in good shape. Well, yeah, if you haven't been here up until now, shame on you. Just kidding. Come through. It's a fun time. There is the factory promo from Ray Fernando that may or may not still be live. You can check old episodes for that. Go back and watch them if you haven't watched them. Like and subscribe, LOL. The other thing, the other code that I wanted to drop, or thing that I wanted to bring people's attention to, is solve.it.com. If you are familiar with Jeremy Howard, he is one of the primary sort of inventors of modern generative AI. I think it was the multi-layer perceptron that is kind of his claim to fame, but it might be something even lower level than that. I forget. In any case, one of the best courses on, hey, I'm new to AI. How do I into AI? I have a list of like 10 of them. This is one of the highest ones on my list, which I will reshare now because it apparently went away, which is very, such as it is. He wrote Practical Deep Learning for Coders. I highly, highly recommend this alongside the Carpathy 10-part series if you want to get into the field. So Jeremy Howard, who is that guy who wrote the best course I've ever taken on the topic and also invented the field, has a new thing called solve.it.com. In the age of code generation agents, Jeremy is trying to rethink sort of how to do education. He does something called dialogue engineering, which I am looking forward to learning more about. But they have a new course which just started on November 3rd, and I will drop a promo code for that. I had to email them and ask and say, hey, I'm a little tight on budget, but I really want to attend the course. Is there a way that I could still attend? And they said, yeah, here's a code. Feel free to bring your colleagues along if they're interested. So I'm going to take that as an implicit consent to share the code. Normally, if you want to sign up for the course, it's $500. If you can afford it, please do. They need